A son standing accused of the unthinkable, a Hollywood legend silenced forever, and a Los Angeles courtroom packed to the walls waiting for three words that finally came on a Monday morning in February 2026. Nick Reiner, 32, the son of legendary Hollywood director Rob Reiner and his wife, Michele Reiner. Reiner entered a plea of not guilty on Monday to 2 counts of first-degree murder in connection with the stabbing deaths of his parents. The arraignment held at a Los Angeles Superior Court marked the first time the defendant formally denied killing the couple who were found dead inside their upscale Brentwood home on December 14, 2025. Nick appeared in the courtroom wearing a brown jail jumpsuit, his head shaved, and his face carrying a light stubble. He stood behind glass in an enclosed custody area as his Deputy Public Defender Kimberly Green entered the not guilty pleas on his behalf. At one point during the brief hearing, a low door in the enclosure was opened, and Green crouched down to speak with her client face-to-face. Nick spoke only once during the proceeding, answering yes when the judge asked whether he waived his right to have the next steps of the case proceed on an expedited timeline. It was notably the third time a plea had been scheduled, and the 2 prior attempts had both unraveled before a single word was spoken. At a January hearing, Nick's previous attorney, prominent private defense lawyer Alan Jackson, stunned the courtroom by withdrawing from the case. Jackson cited circumstances beyond both his own control and his client's, but legal ethics barred him from elaborating. Before departing, however, he made a striking declaration to reporters gathered outside the courthouse. "Pursuant to the laws of California, Nick Reiner is not guilty of murder," Jackson said firmly, adding that he wished his former client the very best going forward. The reasons behind Jackson's abrupt exit have not been publicly disclosed, and speculation continues to surround one of the most closely watched criminal cases in recent Los Angeles history. With Jackson gone, Nick was assigned publicly funded legal representation, a standard arrangement for defendants who are unable to cover private attorney fees. The case will now be overseen by longtime Los Angeles Superior Court Judge Sam Oda, a jurist with an extensive record presiding over high-profile murder, manslaughter, and public corruption matters. Even so, legal observers have noted that no case in his courtroom in recent years has attracted the level of national media attention this one commands. Rob Reiner, 78, and Michele Reiner. Reiner, 70, were discovered by their daughter on the afternoon of December 14th at their home in Brentwood, one of Los Angeles's most affluent neighborhoods. The Los Angeles County Medical Examiner determined that both victims died from multiple sharp force injuries, and authorities indicated the killings occurred several hours before the bodies were found. A court order has since blocked the public release of additional forensic details, and investigators have declined to publicly discuss possible motives. Leaks have been virtually non-existent from both the prosecution and defense sides, leaving many of the most fundamental questions about what happened that night still unanswered. The night before the bodies were discovered, Nick Reiner, who had been living on his parents' property at the time, accompanied his father to a holiday party. Sources told ABC News that Nick was seen behaving erratically at the gathering and got into some kind of argument with Rob Reiner. The precise nature and severity of that confrontation remain disputed. Nick was arrested in Los Angeles the same day the victims were found and has been held without bail ever since. Sources familiar with the investigation told ABC News that in the weeks following the arrest, law enforcement and defense attorneys alike were working to piece together Nick's psychiatric and substance abuse history. He has a documented record of addiction and has undergone substance abuse treatment in the past. Friends who spoke to investigators described his mental health as having been in a visible state of decline in the period leading up to the killings. At a press conference held outside the courthouse following Monday's arraignment, Los Angeles County District Attorney Nathan Hochman addressed reporters and confirmed that his office has not yet made a final determination on whether to seek the death penalty. Nick faces a special circumstance allegation of multiple murders, which makes him eligible for either life in prison without the possibility of parole or capital punishment. Hochman described the death penalty review process as rigorous, saying his team would carefully examine all aggravating and mitigating factors before reaching a decision. He also noted that concerns raised by the victim's family would be taken into account during that process. Deputy District Attorney Habib Balian confirmed that while the full autopsy report from the medical examiner is still pending, All other available evidence has already been turned over to the defense team. Nick's next court date has been set for April 29th, when Judge Oda will schedule a preliminary hearing. At that hearing, prosecutors will be required to present evidence before a new judge, who will then determine whether sufficient grounds exist to send the case to trial. The grief within the Reiner family has been immense and openly expressed. Nick's siblings Jake and Romy Reiner released a statement in the immediate aftermath of their parents' deaths. "Words cannot even begin to describe the unimaginable pain we are experiencing," they wrote. "The horrific and devastating loss of our parents, Rob and Michele Reiner, is something that no one should ever experience. They weren't just our parents, they were our best friends." Rob Reiner built one of the most celebrated careers in American cinema over the course of 4 decades. His directorial credits include This Is Spinal Tap, Stand By Me, The Princess Bride, When Harry Met Sally, and a few Good Men films that have endured as cultural touchstones and continue to be watched and quoted by generations of audiences. It was during the production of When Harry Met Sally that Rob met photographer Michelle Singer. The two married shortly after and remained together for 36 years, building a life in Los Angeles that placed them at the center of Hollywood's creative and social world. Michelle herself forged her own significant career as an actress, producer, and photographer, and founded Reiner Light, a photography agency and production company. The case has cast a shadow over an industry that held Rob Reiner in deep esteem, and over a city that has rarely seen a criminal proceeding carry this kind of cultural weight. As the legal process moves forward through the spring, the question hanging over every development remains the same. What happened inside that Brentwood home on the night of December 13th? What do you think should happen in this case? And do you believe the full truth will eventually come to light? Leave your thoughts in the comments below, and if you want to stay updated on every new development as this case unfolds, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you never miss a single update.